we're interviewing, I am interviewing artist Robina Middleton, who kind of takes art in a totally different direction, which is if you've been exposed to either online or actually here in Lehigh Valley, you can expect that here in the area. Sometimes people think of artists as only painting or drawing or whatever. You take it in a totally different area. Last year I was exposed to your jewelry.
Yes.
But for this exhibit, it's something completely different.
Well, it's jewelry and clothing. And so my jewelry kind of screams primitive elegance. I have a few pieces that are kind of in the steampunk kind of realm, but
No, I hate to interrupt, but just for until I got into 3D graphics design, I didn't even know what steampunk was. What exactly is like that style, steampunk?
well, that kind of goes right up my alley. Like this bracelet here may kind of sort of fall into steampunk. It's kind of found items working with the metals I appreciate, which are brass, stainless steel, and copper. Copper being one of my absolute favorites. And these are my pieces here. This bracelet, my earrings, my necklace. I'm wearing all my jewelry. But so it's kind of has. It's really hard to describe actually, but you can just look up steampunk and it also lends itself to the clothing end of it, whereas in corsetry and the whole garb, like a dress.
Doesn't it also, like looking back in history, lend itself to like the industrial age?
There you go.
That I learned from 3D graphics design.
That's the part I was missing. Yeah, it's kind of industrial, like industrial goth, kind of. There you go.
Okay, I apologize for that, but just for people who aren't familiar with that term.
No, please, that's fine. And so then, so that's kind of where some of my jewelry is. And then my clothing that I have inside is vinyl, which people have, before they knew it and touched it, thought it was leather. It's a different take on an elegant gown. I applied vinyl instead. And it's a full sleeve, and it comes down and goes into shirring, and it has off the shoulder. The other shoulder is bare. And then it has the real fun part, and it's a full length. And the zipper begins kind of mid-leg, and it comes up on a diagonal line and unzips up to the armpit, which is, again, another thing that's very unusual. And
Sounds like New York style. It sounds like something a New York fashion designer would come out with, honestly.
Well, what I do, that piece was actually a designer pattern. What I do is I take patterns. I, at this point, do not make patterns, but I will mix things up. I also take like vintage bras and garters, and I dissect them and I'll recreate them in newer, edgier fabrics, fun fabrics. Again, in vinyl is a big player, like animal print vinyl, reptile type things. So then there's another piece in the show today, which began with like a Joan Cleaver 50s dress. Okay, that's the base. So, and it was strapless. And so what I did is I dissected it and embellished it. And at the time, surface tooling was very vogue. And I took the chosen colors to coordinate with the other trims, the black, the pink, laces, and strapping, also to coordinate with the tooling, that's the surface tooling of the dress.
Okay.
And so that's like reconstructed
I
vintage.
mean, a lot of people, there actually is an art form to even the most famous, they have to have like some kind of art background for fashion, am I correct?
Yeah, you definitely, for fashion, yeah, you definitely need.
A lot of people don't realize that, it's like they see the clothing and everything, oh, this is really cool, this is, this
It doesn't
is,
just happen.
this will last, this is what's in for the next 365 days, etc., but they don't realize that you actually have to draw and use a lot of imagination going into it, am I correct?
You do. My technique, however, has always been, I do some illustrating of my work, but mostly I'm a visual learner. I will study something and I will just sit down with the materials and just put it together. I started to do illustrations and drawings of my jewelry beforehand. Doesn't work. I just take my favorite things and I just start wrapping the wire, hammering and shaping, and that's in the realm of the jewelry. But same as the fashion, the reconstructing of the vintage clothing. I just look at something like, okay, I like that look. What do I have to work with? And I'll pick it apart and redo it.
Okay, now how long have you been, a couple standard questions here. How long have you been doing art?
All my life, really. So I was in high school. I took graphic print shop, and I was doing photography. And so I was in the graphics, which then grew into multimedia.
Before the days of the digital.
Before, yes.
Are you-
I started in the traditional, drafting table, cut and paste. That's where I started. And then, so, and that's very meticulous. And, of course, you have art classes and you have to have a sense of balance, right? So I did take advertising design, which again, I had more art classes, and it was spatial, color and spatial, painting, illustration. So I did have that background as well for like 2 years of art.
Okay.
And then taking a break and then working in corporate, doing that so-called, design. So getting away from that, then there was a point in 1999 through to like 2005. I was really making and marketing my clothing in Philly, and hence the dress, the vinyl dress. That was one of the pieces of what I was making and marketing in Philly. So then any chance I could try something different, I would just figure it out myself. I've had, for jewelry classes, I had one chainmail class, which made me realize the love of the wire. But after that, that's the only jewelry making.
Now, did you make any armor, though, in that chainmail class?
Oh, that's
I'm sorry.
No, I only did a
I
bracelet.
love Dungeons and Dragons as a kid. I love fantasy. I had to ask that
No,
one.
it's fabulous. I really appreciate other people doing that, because although what I do is very tedious, so is that. But the outcome is always the biggest reward, no matter what you're doing, right? So, but no, I chose I did a little bit of chainmail, okay? I did some different types of Byzantine chain links and things like that. But like, I kind of went to taking the different gauge wires of stainless steel, brass, and copper and doing more of the wrapping.
Okay.
So, and that's how I would do attaching. I cold work everything. I hammer to harden. I do not use heat. So that's where I went with the jewelry making class, the chainmail.
Okay.
And I did sew a little bit when I was a kid, and I actually, did Barbie clothes. But I was always into like painting and drawing as a kid, and then later on, it just evolved. And I do painting also. I paint, and I'm studying art therapy right now. And along with some of the art therapy classes, I most recently acquired skills in book as art, which is another development.
Now, what is that? That's one form of art one of the many forms I've never heard of, and just for people who haven't, what is?
It's doing altered books. So once again, you're reconstructing the book. You're taking an existing old book, and you're dissecting it or embellishing it, and I've done all of those things. So.
Okay.
Some people might be familiar with like taking an old dictionary perhaps and doing.
Get in here. This is also who is mutual friends of us. This is Danielle, local author, and you can be looking forward to a book review and an interview. She'll actually be my first local author that I will be reviewing and interviewing. So the Holy Eye Valley is, for the most part, a lot of people are connected and support each other. So I had to. I'm sorry, Danielle, but
We're teamed together in this art show.
okay. Now, could you give people a quick idea about that? Well, just a quick promo about that.
February 2nd, for this All Is Vanity show, the artist will speak about their work, and then the poet will follow us and do some readings of their own.
Readings.
Danielle will be doing 3 of her own poems chosen for the show.
That Robina picked out that resonate some of her own work, and crystals and vanity and beauty. February 2nd, 12 o'clock or 12:30 at St. John's Lutheran Church.
Weather permitting, of course.
Weather permitting.
It will have to permit.
I had to throw that in because this winter's been crazy.
Yes.
The winter's been crazy and unpredictable.
All right. Well, I'm going to go, and thank you so much for stopping with me and getting to chat, and thank you
No
for
problem.
being with me. Talk to you soon.
See you, Danielle.
Okay.
Bye, Mike.